What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Parker with TakeHisWhistle, and we are back with another podcast. Yes, the podcast is returning. We got a lot to go over, and we will see you guys here in just a second.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Touchdown. Play clock at 5. Pass
Back today, so I got time to be tripping and writing no love song. Yeah, writing no love song. We all experience love loss.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Parker with TakeHisWhistle, and the podcast has returned. Josh, as you can see, finally back with me. Josh, how are you doing? It's been a while.
What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be back. Parker, it's good to be back on the pod with you, as always. It's been a while. I've been a busy man recently, and, just some personal things going on, but that's all right. And I'm very excited to be back. Sports, as you know, sports is probably a central part of both of our lives. Actually, I know it is. So getting to sit here, talk about sports with you at least once a week, I missed it. So here we are, though. We're back.
Yeah. We got a decent amount to talk about today, but I guess we can start this out as something new that we're going to potentially try to just blend into the podcast whenever we do podcast, and that is talking a little UFC action. Now, I will be honest, I do not know that much about UFC besides it is you get into an octagon with somebody and you actually just try to kill them. Josh, on the other hand, he is a diehard UFC fan. He is a lover of getting to the outside of the octagon and trying to kill somebody. And this is a journey for me trying to, I guess, more or less try to learn the ropes of UFC and kind of just everything going on. And so that's something that we're going to kind of talk about a little bit today as come, I believe, March 9th, UFC 299 is happening with a couple big fights. Josh, do you want to potentially start talking about some of these, and which one would you want to start with?
Yeah, I'll take it over from here. As you said, UFC 299 is the next major card. It is the next card. And it's actually, luckily for you, it involves two guys that you're fairly familiar with, that being Sean O'Malley and Dustin Poirier. So
the GOAT.
This card I'm actually very excited about because Sean O'Malley is going against oh my God, I'm blanking on it. They don't say his first name very often.
Marlon Vera.
Yeah, Marlon Vera, otherwise known as Cheeto Vera. That is what he goes by in the UFC community or MMA community. Everyone knows him as Cheeto. But that is a big fight because if you are a UFC fan, then you know that Sean O'Malley has one loss on his record. That one loss is to Cheeto Vera, and it was by TKO. This was not recently, though. This was probably, I want to say it was about 2 years ago. It was before Sean really got his big championship push, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding it because in that fight, Cheeto Vera hit Sean O'Malley with a leg kick that Sean will tell you says hit his peroneal nerve in his leg, and then it shut Sean's leg down instantly, almost like that one fight we watched on the card a couple weeks ago, Parker, if you remember that.
Yes, yeah.
So Sean's leg becomes unusable. He winds up falling to the ground and just gets beaten up pretty much from that point on. But it was really funny because Sean O'Malley then went on to tell everyone that he could tell he did not lose that fight and that he doesn't count that as a loss on his record. So if you ask Sean, he's undefeated. If you ask Cheeto, he beat him fair and square. Which, if you ask me, I'm siding with Cheeto here. I love Sean. He's a great fighter, great striker, but, if a man is skilled enough to hit you in your nerve and take out your leg the way that Cheeto did, it does involve a little bit of luck, but he still managed to do it to you. And then from that point on, he went and dominated you. So he did still win that fight. But before we go in depth a little bit into that fight and why I find it to be very intriguing, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis is a good fight because Benoit Saint-Denis is making a very big name for himself. He lost his UFC debut, and it was the only fight that he has been to a decision in. Every other fight, he's won. So he only has one loss on his record, and it was a decision. Every other fight, he's finished his opponent, whether it was submission or whether it was knockout. So Benoit Saint-Denis is very, very dangerous, and I believe this is his 5th or 6th fight in the UFC, and it's against a very, worthy opponent in Dustin Poirier, who is coming off of an
older.
Yeah, he's getting older now, but he is also coming off of a knockout loss, probably one of his worst losses in his career, coming off of a head kick knockout loss to Justin Gaethje back in I believe it was the summertime.
It's been about a year almost since he's last fought.
Yeah, and he took a very huge gap, in which before that he beat Conor McGregor twice, but those fights were they were what they were. But Parker, after those two little summaries, I guess is a good way to put it, do you have any questions about these two fights or any other fights on the card that I can maybe give you some help with or give you some advice or, anything you want to ask?
O'Malley, his is bantamweight class. I believe that is how you say it, bantamweight class.
Yeah, he's in the bantamweight weight division, yeah. Or weight class.
Is that for a championship or is it just a fight?
It is for a championship.
It's for O'Malley.
Sean O'Malley is the bantamweight champion.
Yes.
Typically in a UFC card, if you see the champion fighting on said card, he's putting his title on the line. I think Conor McGregor is the only guy who's ever main evented a card and not had to put his title on the and that's when he fought Nate Diaz.
Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously O'Malley only has one loss. Vera has more wins technically, but has 8 losses compared to O'Malley's 1. Vera beat O'Malley. Would you say that O'Malley is the favorite, being the champion, kind of just having a lot of momentum, probably having, I would say, the crowd on his side, as I know he's a fan favorite. I mean, I know who he is.
Yeah, Sean O'Malley, he's very good at talking. He knows how to get fans. He knows how to get people on his side. I would say Sean O'Malley, if you look at the Vegas odds, I would say he probably is the favorite just because he is coming in as the champion and he is coming off of a nasty win streak. Like I said, he hasn't lost since losing to Marlon Vera, otherwise known as Cheeto Vera. So just that in general. And also Cheeto Vera, I don't think he's lost a fight in, I mean, off the top of my head, it's probably been 5 fights.
Yeah.
So they're both on win streaks, and Sean O'Malley, the way Sean O'Malley won the championship, I think, is swaying a lot of people because he knocked out Aljamain Sterling. He knocked out the last champion, and that was probably his. Actually, it was his biggest fight. It was his toughest opponent up to that point, and he knocked him out. So I think a lot of people are looking at this fight with excitement because there's a thing that happens when a man becomes a UFC champion. You'll see it a lot, Parker, is they'll win the championship and then they'll get a lot of people saying they didn't deserve it. They're not that good. They're not that great. And then something switches in their head where they take that next step. A championship leap is what some people call it. It's what I call it. You'll see a fighter become a champion and then he'll become dominant until he, loses the belt or, whatever it may be. But you see it in championship fights too. When people fight in a championship fight, they tend to take a step up further because that's, their biggest moment in their career, their life.
Right.
And I believe a lot of people are potentially going to see that with Sean. Because the thing with Marlon Vera is I think Vera, his jiu-jitsu game is a bit better than Sean's. we haven't really seen Sean's jiu-jitsu game, his ground game, mainly because he hasn't really been taken down very much, and he's a very good striker, so he tends to stay on the feet. And Cheeto Vera, he is Brazilian, I think. I could be very wrong about that, actually. I gotta look that up first before I just say it. He's Ecuadorian, so he's not Brazilian, but he does have a good jiu-jitsu background. And so that's one of the things. There's a lot that plays into it, but I forgot your original question. Oh, yeah, Sean O'Malley. I think coming into the fight, Sean O'Malley is probably the favorite, yeah. But I don't think it's a very large gap at all.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, like I said, like, two of the only fighters that are active right now that I know of is Sean O'Malley and Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier, like I said just a minute ago, he is getting a little bit older up in age. He's 35. He is going up against Saint-Denis, who is fairly younger by, I believe, almost 7 years. And it looks like he's less experienced, coming in with a record of 13-1 to Poirier's 29-8. I mean, obviously Dustin has the experience here, and just like the overall, just, I guess, experience is a good word to use. But I mean, does being 35, your body's slowing down? Does a younger cat like Saint-Denis have a legitimate chance of, I guess, more or less pulling off an upset against one of the greats?
I mean, listen, like I said earlier, Benoit Saint-Denis, he's 13-1.
I'm sorry. How do you say that last name again?
Saint-Denis.
Denis. Not
He's
Denis.
he's French,
Denis.
So you just
Okay.
got to put that little
My
French
apologies.
twang on it.
My apologies.
But Benoit Saint-Denis, like I said earlier, he's 13-1. You don't get to 13-1 by a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
He's very clearly good, and also, like I said earlier, all of his fights, Parker, except for that one loss on his record that went to a decision, ended in a knockout or a submission, with him on the winning side. So he's very with 4 of those being in the UFC. I believe this is his 6th fight in the UFC. So with that being said, he came into the UFC with a 7-0 record, and he's 5-1 in the UFC, 4-1 in the UFC, which is very impressive. Mm-hmm. However, if you look at his resume in the UFC, it's not against the best competition. It's not against the top guys in the lightweight division. Dustin Poirier is that guy who you have to beat if you want to put your name into that top echelon of the lightweight contenders. Because Dustin Poirier has been at the peak of the mountain. He's been in championship contention. He's been a interim champion. So he knows what it is to be a champion in that division. He knows what it feels like to be a champion. He knows what it takes to be a champion. So if Benoit Saint-Denis wants to get anywhere near that mountaintop, he's got to take out Dustin, and I think he's got a very good shot at it. Because like I said, Dustin's coming off of probably one of his worst losses in his career. And so that takes a lot out of a man, especially when it's happened multiple times in your career. Sometimes one knockout loss is enough to derail a career. Some people are speculating that with Alexander Volkanovski after this last fight that he just had with Ilia Topuria. But Dustin Poirier has always found a way to come back after a loss stronger, better, or just stable. You know, because like I said, it takes a lot out of a man to get knocked out by another man and then have to come back and fight again. So that is a very interesting fight that, to me, and I think it's very balanced from because Dustin Poirier, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know what Benoit Saint-Denis is, but he has plenty of submissions on his resume, so I would argue to say that he's fairly good at the ground game as well. So if it goes to the ground, that could be a very good ground fight as well as if it were to be a stand and bang type fight. But it's a very good fight. Both the co-main and main event are very, very intriguing fights. Very good fights, hopefully, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then I want the last one that I kind of do want to talk about, just because I'm looking at the card right now, I see that, speaking of older ages, there is Michael Page coming in at 36 years old. But what is intriguing to him is it looks like he is undefeated at 12-0. He's going up against Kevin Holland, who is 25-10. It looks like Kevin Holland has the experience. I could be wrong on that. It looks like he definitely has much more experience. Is Michael Page a serious threat, being as old as he is, but also being undefeated? Or is it someone that's, like you said, with Saint-Denis? Is that how you say it? Saint-Denis?
Yeah, Saint-Denis.
Is that something where he really hasn't fought the top talent, and he's kind of just winning matches that he was supposed to win?
Yeah, so I'm actually really glad you brought this fight up because, for one, hopefully another UFC fan or another MMA fan can tell me why, but Michael Page isn't actually 12-0. He's actually like 22-2. I don't know why it says he's 12-0. Somebody please tell me if you know why it says he's 12-0. But as you said, he's 36.
36. Yep.
Michael Page is 36. Kevin Holland's 31. But you said Kevin Holland looks like he has the experience. So the thing with these two is Kevin Holland's been in the UFC for longer than Michael Page. But Michael Page has been fighting MMA for a very long time. If you're an avid MMA fan, even if you're a casual, you've probably seen Michael Page's highlights. And the reason why you've probably seen his highlights is because Michael Page fought in a different promotion for the longest time. Michael Page fought in Bellator, which is UFC's rival company, or at least one of UFC's rival companies. Michael Page...
AEW and WWE.
Yeah, exactly, okay. Yeah. Michael Page was Bellator's champion for a very long time. Bellator is where Michael Page picked up his 2 losses on his career. But the reason why he's such an intriguing name is because while he was in Bellator and he was racking up all these wins, staying undefeated, making everyone look easy, everyone was like, he's not going up against that UFC competition, though, because it's very highly considered that the UFC has the best competition in the world. And right. Like you said, he's 36, so he's got that little bit of older age to him. But, Parker, one thing to keep in mind, though, as you learn MMA and you learn the UFC, the older age guys tend to be the better ones. Because that experience, that fight experience, really? The more fights you're in, the more you learn from those fights. And even if you're undefeated and you're like 36, like it says Michael Page is, he's got all that experience from all those fights that he's been in his career. So there's a reason why John Jones makes everyone look so easy at the age of 35, 36. Khabib, when he was running the world, he was in his 30s.
I felt like it's coming in at a old age. It's very similar to how NFL players are. You don't see many older 35 and above running backs in the NFL, just because it's such a physically demanding sport. And, your body just obviously breaks down over time, right?
Right.
And so that makes me think that whenever a older person goes up against a younger person, you kind of have to give the slight edge to that younger person, because is his body going to break down on him? Probably not. Is his stamina up? Potentially. And so just looking off that, and obviously I'm wrong, but it would just seem like UFC is a young man's game.
Right. Well, so we're starting to see nowadays, young champions. Because, people consider Sean O'Malley young. He's 30. So we see a lot in MMA, in the UFC specifically. A lot of guys don't hit their prime in the sport until they hit 30. And then their prime can last however long it lasts. You know what I mean? Because a prime, regardless of sport, a prime can last 1 year, a prime can last 5 years, longer than 5 years. Look at Khabib, his lasted his whole career. So Marlon Vera, he's in his prime right now. He's 31. Dustin Poirier, some might consider him still in his prime. He's 35. So it's one of those things where young is a bit, there's more leeway to the word young in MMA than there is in basketball or football, because you're not gonna see a UFC champion who's 19. There is a fighter currently in the UFC. He's 3-1 in the UFC, I think, and he's 20 or 21, but he's nowhere close to championship though. Like he's
right.
I don't even know if he's ranked, to be honest. He's very good, like very impressive for that young of age.
His time will come. His
time will come, and that's if he keeps winning too, because you gotta keep winning if you're in the UFC.
Right.
I think the youngest champion of all time is probably John Jones, and he hasn't lost in the UFC except for one disqualification, which many people don't even recognize as a loss.
Right.
I mean, he won the championship. He won the light heavyweight championship when he was 23, and he never lost. That's rare. That's very rare. Like, no, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? But
right.
he's a different breed. And so this fight's very interesting because Michael Page has been good for so long in Bellator. Well, now he's coming over to the UFC, and he's fighting a very respectable opponent in Kevin Holland, who is another fan favorite. A lot of people like Kevin Holland, but a lot of people like Michael Page too. So that's a very big fight, because I think people are very interested to see what Michael Page has left in the tank, because, like you said, he is 36. Like, yes, he is old, and he's coming in late, but he could still have plenty left in the tank, and we could see him in the championship picture here in a year. It just it just depends, and that fight's very interesting.
Okay. Yeah. This is something. So, UFC 298 was on a few weeks back, and I watched a little bit of the pre-card, whatever the right term is, and it was intriguing. It was something that obviously I didn't necessarily know any of the fighters. Even the main event, I wasn't too familiar with the names that were fighting. But something like this, I can definitely get down with, something that is a good start for me, because, I know at least two of the fighters. And to be fair, I've kind of hopped on the Sean O'Malley bandwagon without even knowing who the guy really is. I see what he posts on social media. I follow him on social medias, and I've just grown to be a fan of him. But yeah, I'm excited for 299, and I'm sure me and Josh will probably end up watching it together somewhere. Well, Josh, do you want to potentially shift topics to a little NFL talk?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously we didn't cover the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs did win. We're not going to go into that pretty much at all, because nobody really cares. Nobody really cares that the Chiefs won. That's pretty irrelevant. But now all eyes are on the NFL draft, as that is right around the corner, just a few months away. Josh, there has been, and I feel like this happens every year, but the closer we get to actual draft day, we see more and more quarterbacks rise. I feel like it just something that happens every year. And from where we were talking, Caleb Williams may not even go number one. Marvin Harrison might go number one. Last time I feel like we talked mock drafts. Well, now I feel like a lot of mock drafts have Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels going 1, 2, 3. And some of them even have Jaden Daniels going as high as number 2. And I know, Josh, as you a Vikings fan, you said that you want Jaden Daniels to come to Minnesota. Do you think that the Commanders would actually pull the trigger on someone like Jaden Daniels, or do you think Drake May is a safer option?
So, I think all top 3 quarterback prospects are very promising. I do think Drake May, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I do think Drake May might take. Well, No, you know what? It's not a hot take because this is a common thing for many players. I think Drake May out of the three is going to take more than 1 year to show his NFL talent. Whereas I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels can come in year one and probably produce. I think Drake May is probably going to be like Bryce Young. He gets drafted to a situation that's not that favorable and doesn't perform that well, but you don't really want to hate on him that much because he got put into a terrible situation. I mean, the Commanders just fired Eric Bieniemy. You don't just fire Eric B. Like, that man is a great offensive mind and pretty much led the Chiefs when they were, well, they still are in their dynasty, but, you know, the past few years when they were been doing their thing, that was Eric B. at the helm on that offense. And so, yeah, out of the three, I just think Drake May is more of the project. But I still think he's very good. You know, he's very accurate. He can run if he has to. I do think he has some decision-making issues from what I saw. You know, North Carolina's in the ACC, so I watched him quite a bit, especially towards the end of the season when, you know, I was kind of hoping for them to lose. But speaking of North Carolina, their fall-off at the end of the season, it's you can't really put that on Drake May, and I know people aren't, but it wasn't really his defense was really bad. Like, he had probably one of the worst defenses in the ACC at North Carolina, and also his top wide receiver target was ineligible for more than half the season, and then when they did let him be eligible, he got hurt. So Drake May didn't really have anything to work with this year. And
I mean, it's the same thing with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams didn't have a defense to save his life.
Yeah, also true, yeah. And I think that's why they're projected so high, because people look past that for once and they can actually see how good these guys are. I mean, Caleb Williams showed it last year. Like the year the year before this most recent year, how good he can be. I mean, USC wasn't being talked about for years, and then Caleb Williams went there, and then they were top 10 in the nation. And so it's very interesting. And then, but Jaden Daniels at the same time, you know, LSU didn't have very much success either, but people still see the success in Jaden Daniels, and they still see, you know, what they can get from Jaden Daniels, and so can I. That's why I want him in Minnesota, because Jaden Daniels, his running ability is great. I mean, some of the best running ability I've seen in college, probably since Lamar Jackson, if I'm being honest. His passing ability is great. Very accurate on the deep ball. Him and Malik Neighbors were probably the best quarterback wide receiver duo in college football this year. I know that's kind of an escape answer because Malik Neighbors probably should have won the Biletnikoff, and then Jaden Daniels won Heisman. So it's kind of a getaway answer there, but the way they were together is just something different. And then him and Brian Thomas Jr., very underrated duo as well. I mean, that's two wide receivers right there who were top 10 in receiving yards, I think, in the nation. So I just think all three quarterback prospects are great guys. And yeah, all three are great.
So you being a Minnesota fan, do you think that, obviously, which we'll get into, Chicago and their whole quarterback situation they got going on right now, because it's an absolute dumpster fire. But do you think the Commanders,
which, by the way, if it hasn't been made clear yet, or in the past episodes that we've done, Parker is a Bears fan, so that is his team, and I'm not gonna let him sit here and say that he's not, or that he's just a partial fan. He's a Bears fan, and if you guys are listening, don't let him say otherwise. Anyways, what were you asking?
We'll get into the dumpster fire of Chicago here in a minute. But do you think that the Falcons, or no, I'm sorry, not the Falcons, the Commanders and or the Patriots trade out of their pick? You know, because I feel as if for some time now, the Patriots guy has been Drake May. For whatever reason, for since college was still going on, I have always seen mock drafts. Drake May finds his way to New England. Now, the current mock draft that I have pulled up right now actually has the Patriots trading that pick to Minnesota, and Minnesota picks up Drake May. Now, I know you said that you want Jaden Daniels, but even looking past that, do you think that the Commanders or the Patriots really give up on one of these two top quarterbacks and get out of that pick?
It's hard because this quarterback class is one of the best we've seen in a few years. And that goes beyond the top 3. There's other quarterbacks who could sneak their way into round 1. You know, you look at guys like J.J. McCarthy, who probably goes mid-first round. You look at guys like, why am I blanking on his name right now? Penix, who has a very large injury history, but if he has a good combine, could sneak his way into the late first round. And I just don't I don't see a draft where the Vikings, who are in probably the stickiest quarterback situation they've had since before getting Kirk Cousins, I don't see how we don't try and trade up. But I also I can't really think of a situation right now in my head where the Patriots trade out or the Commanders trade out, because they both need a quarterback. They both need something. Literally anything, even if it's not a quarterback. Like this mock draft I'm looking at right now has the Patriots taking MHJ. So if in my opinion, I think the earliest that the Vikings could trade up to is 4 with the Arizona Cardinals.
Would Marvin Harrison be there? Or, well, I should say, will Drake May or Jaden Daniels be there? It would just be, me personally, I mean, I just don't see a world, one, what a suitable package from Minnesota would be.
I'll put it this way. If we want to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks, we're going to have to move in front of the Giants, because I think the Giants are going to take a quarterback.
Which I do want to talk about the Giants here in a minute. Me personally, I don't see a world, unless something crazy happens and Chicago decides to keep Fields. I mean, the top 3 quarterbacks are gone. 1, 2, 3, in my opinion. I feel like just history shows where quarterbacks are usually taken so early in drafts, and you don't want to wait. I know you want to try to get the most value out of your pick, but you don't want to wait too much, because before you know it, somebody's going to take it. I feel like 1, 2, 3 is all going to be quarterbacks. Which I'll go to the Giants now, the Daniel Jones experiment needs to be over in New York. As much as there are probably a few people that are still believers in Daniel Jones and just think that he needs a few more years to really get going, you're dead wrong. Our Daniel Jones needs to go. He's awful. He's not good. And they have practically wasted Saquon Barkley's prime of his career. Who knows if Saquon's even going to be in New York come, I guess, more or less October. Now, this mock draft, they have J.J. McCarthy going to New York. Obviously, where they're at with pick 6, do I think J.J. McCarthy is projected a little high? Definitely. I think that he's a second-round talent, in my opinion. But like I said, quarterbacks tend to go way earlier than expected come draft day. But he is young. He's a junior. At where it's at right now, if you are a New York fan, I think it's everything. I mean, I think that this is perfect for you as a Giants fan, just because who knows what McCarthy could become. But all I know is Daniel Jones has to go, and quarterback, whether it's in the draft or in free agency, needs to be the Giants' number 1 pick. Do you agree with me, Josh?
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't. The Daniel Jones experience, I mean, they had a good year. They had a good year last year, but this year, it came right back to where they were before last year. I don't see how they don't try to make a move for quarterback, but I also see a world where they try to go more towards free agency for quarterback. And then in that situation, that's when I can see them maybe like trading out or taking somebody that's not a quarterback. Do I think they'll do that? I don't know, because I don't think the free agency class for quarterback is too strong this year.
That's what I was like. I think literally Kirk Cousins might be the top prize in the quarterback race and free agency.
Yeah, and he's not even officially a free agent yet. But I think the Giants, if they don't go the free agency route or if they don't figure something else out, I do think taking a quarterback at 6 is probably their ideal situation. Which we talk about trading up. Maybe there's a world where the Giants trade up and get one of the QBs
into that top 3 echelon.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the Vikings are going to make a shakeup. Somehow, some way, they are going to screw somebody. And they're going to absolutely screw somebody, whether it is New York, whether it is New England. Somebody is not going to get a quarterback because there's, more or less 4 top prospects. And then you got Bo Nix, you got Michael Penix down low. But you got 4 top prospects, and you got really 5 teams that are in desperate need of a quarterback right now. Somebody's going to get screwed. For you, Josh, I hope it is the Giants' sake, or they're the ones that get screwed. But, as far as young talent goes, I kind of feel like New York has a better package to give up than Minnesota at this exact moment. I feel like they have a lot more young pieces that is going to be a more of enticing trade to New England or Washington.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the Vikings are going to do. I have seen a lot about us potentially trading up, but then I look at it more and more, and I just don't see how. Like you said, I just don't see how, because I don't know what package we would give them. Because in my head, I'm just thinking we're just going to give them a ton of picks from this year, next year, maybe even the year after that. But I also don't know if that's something that we want to do. So. Right. And obviously, the team's not going to come out and say and be completely transparent about what they're trying to do because, they don't want a bunch of rumors flying, which have already started as far as Jay Jettis goes. And it's just the whole situation. But I do hope if we're going to go QB, if we're going to, even if we re-sign Kirk on a 1-year or 2-year, if we do go quarterback, I hope it's through trading up, because like many people, which I'll admit I'm kind of leaning off of JJ McCarthy in a good way. I don't think he's as bad as many people are saying that he is. Do I think he's one of the top 3 quarterback prospects? No, hell no. But I do genuinely think he's probably the 4th best quarterback prospect. And, he's got a good arm. He's got good accuracy. He didn't throw much in college, but that's because he wasn't asked to. Michigan liked to start with the run game. And if you start with the run game and nobody ever stops it, you're not going to stop the run game. You know what I mean? So J.J. McCarthy was only ever doing what he was told to do, which is just to not turn over the ball whenever he did pass the ball, which he didn't, and to just, hand the ball off right, and he did. And when he did pass, he threw accurate balls, whether it was deep, short, or medium. He got it to the receiver, and then receivers made plays, even if it was checkdowns. He got the ball to him, he made the right choice, he made good decisions. He's a very good, to put it in Cam Newton argument perspective, J.J. McCarthy is probably the best game manager out of the QB prospects. The top 3, I would say, are all game changers. J.J. McCarthy is the best game manager, is how I would put it.
I agree. Drake May, I kind of would put Drake May more of a game manager than a game changer.
I would put him. I would put him in the middle of both of those because
middle's good. He can take over a game if he needs to.
Yeah, because when you look at him in North Carolina, he was a great game manager in the sense that he led the team very well and everything like that. But when you look at it from the other side, his defense wasn't worth a shit, and so he had to become a game changer in order to win them half the games they did. So, that's how I look at it. And then obviously Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, I don't think I have to explain why they're game changers.
Yeah. Well, the last thing, which all of our talk that we have just spent, however long, could be all for nothing because everybody could go home happy. What the hell is Chicago going to do with Justin Fields? Me, if you want to call me a Bears fan, sure, I'll admit it today and today only. Justin Fields, in my opinion, needs to stay in Chicago. I love him. He's still young. He's a young quarterback that is extremely mobile. He does have some accuracy issues, obviously, but I'm a really big fan of Justin Fields, and he was kind of a main reason of me becoming a Bears fan. Obviously, Caleb Williams is a generational talent, and if he doesn't go number one, Washington might shit themselves if they actually land Caleb Williams. But I get it. Caleb Williams has been so hyped up for so long, and just people are expecting such good things out of him. What if there's a world where Caleb Williams comes into Chicago and nothing changes? You go 3 years down the line, you guys are still missing the playoffs. Chicago is still in just misery. Then what? You're looking at wow, we actually saw progression from Justin Fields, and we got rid of him. We got rid of him because we thought this kid that's younger than him, less experienced than him, was going to be better. You don't know that for a fact. You don't know that Caleb Williams is going to pan out the way everybody says he is. Does he have the intangibles? 1,000% he does. Does he have the look? 1,000% he does. He has that aura about him just to be that next big-time quarterback. But you don't know. Justin Fields, you do know what you're going to get, and you do know that he is consistently getting better and better and better. And at this point, you have just drove a wedge straight in between the relationships between Fields and Chicago. For all we know, Chicago could be like, "Yo, Fields, we want you to come back," and Fields like, "No, I don't want to at this point. I want out of Chicago. You guys have just completely treated me like shit since I have been drafted here. I don't want any part of it." And honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I really wouldn't blame Fields for feeling some type of way about Chicago's organization at this point.
Yeah, I guess for the most part, I agree with you, Parker. I think they should keep Fields. But to play devil's advocate, just for the sake of the argument cause, here's reasons why they shouldn't keep Fields. He hasn't shown enough improvement in order to pay him. Right. It's one of those situations where you could get a rookie quarterback who's potentially already better than Fields. A lot of people will say he is. And you're getting him on a rookie contract compared to a guy that you're going to have to pay for 2-3 years and pay millions of dollars. So that's one reason. 2, you get Fields a receiver this year. Now, I'm kind of more on the side of the contrary where it was only 1 year with DJ Moore. Maybe give him one more year and see how he does with DJ Moore, and maybe even a Brian Thomas Jr. or one of the other late round wide receivers.
Maybe a Marvin Harrison.
Maybe a Marvin Harrison if they wanted to draft Marvin. But I think, like you said, I think there's a giant wedge in that relationship right now with 1,000%. Fields and the Bears. I don't think they're gonna keep him. They're being way too. I guess they should be quiet and secretive about their plans, but it's just odd and weird. Like, they're just not really saying much. And then the one thing I did hear about the Bears is the owner came out and said, like, if we decide Justin Fields isn't the guy, then we're going to trade him before free agency starts, which doesn't seem like the type of thing you'd say if you're planning on keeping him as your quarterback. So I'm on the side with you that I think they should keep him. Mm-hmm. But as far as what I think Justin Fields is as good as gone.
I do too. I'll be honest. And looking at where it's at right now, the two teams that I feel like would be in prime talks, Josh, would be the Vikings, a rival of Chicago. I feel like if they were really trying to shop Fields, I feel like Vikings would be one of the first teams they would call, and then the second would be Las Vegas. How would you feel if you had Justin Fields under center come next year? Would you like that? Be disappointed?
I mean, you put Justin Fields behind one of the best graded offensive lines in the league, and then you give him one of the best tight ends in the league. You give him one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league. Best. And then you give him one of the best rookie receivers in the league last year. That's three receivers right there that are just top tier. And then you got an O-line that's also top tier. I don't see how Justin Fields couldn't chew on a team like the Vikings. I haven't seen many talks as far as Justin Fields goes and the Vikings. I haven't seen very many connections with that. A lot of the connections I've seen are Justin Fields to the Falcons. But I would love it. I would love it if Justin Fields was a Viking. That would be great.
I guess that it makes sense. I never really thought as the Falcons as a true suitor, as just like I thought that they were gonna try Desmond Ridder one more year, and that was kind of just it. Maybe get him some better weapons down there in Atlanta, other than Drake May, other than Kyle Pitts. Who did I say?
You said Drake May.
Oh, Drake London. I'm sorry. Drake London. The two that I saw was Las Vegas and Minnesota, were the two kind of prime destinations if they were to trade for Fields. I obviously there is kind of like a whole new brand going on. They're just changing the entire culture down there in Las Vegas. So no telling where that team's gonna look like come this season. So who knows how Justin Fields would do in that kind of just that environment. I think that, like you said, if he would do very well in Minnesota, I don't know. It's definitely just, I feel like every team is kind of just waiting to see what the Bears do. And the Bears are trying to hold off for as long as physically possible to do so.
The Bears hold a lot of power right now. The Bears hold a lot of power within the NFL right now. And yeah, you're completely right. So many teams, probably half the league is waiting to see what the Bears are going to do before they decide anything. And that is scary, honestly.
Right.
Because a team like the Chicago Bears might wait until draft day to do something. And then they'll do something, and then we might see a crazy waterfall on draft day happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be exciting, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be terrifying as a Vikings fan because I know we're going to be involved somehow.
As a Bears fan, I know that they're going to screw it up. We're going to walk out of draft day without Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, nor Marvin Harrison, and we're going to be stuck with Bo Nix. Somehow.
Now, I will say,
I don't know.
I've seen some talks about the Vikings just staying at 12 and taking a Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy, which obviously I'm not as happy about, but I could potentially be swayed into thinking that it's okay. But I would have to look it over.
Yeah. Well, Josh, we're hitting around that 45-minute mark, maybe more close to like the 50-minute mark. Let's shift topics one more time here over to something that me and Josh has been pretty much nonstop talking about for I don't know, 3 years now. And that is the new college football game, College Football 25, set to release in July, hopefully June. We don't know. Full release, full trailer is going to be in May, as a teaser trailer was just dropped a few weeks ago. Josh, how excited are you for this game? Are you matching the same level of excitement that I am bringing to the table?
I mean, look, as you know, I play NCAA 14 revamped so much. I had plans to do a little mini-series on this channel, but I guess I'll let everyone know now. I'm actually going to hold off on that until the new game drops, just because of how close we are to the game dropping. And I figure, I can do that series, plus I can have Parker involved, which, is always fun to have him involved in the things that I do. So... I find it would probably be more entertaining for you all too to have like a public dynasty mode with me and Parker, but obviously more details coming down the line. I'm so excited. I mean, 10 years in the making, Parker. I can't name another game that took 10 years to come out, and
GTA.
Yeah, no shit. Which, honestly, the NCAA 25 hype is exceeding GTA 6 right now. Like, and now I know there's more information about NCAA 14 or 25 than there is than GTA 6 because it's so much closer to being released than GTA 6. Right. But the hype is astronomical for this game. And, the graphics, the gameplay, the storyline in Road to Glory. I know I've talked to you about it so much. Like... Back then, they didn't have storylines in Road to Glory, but now they can. I mean, the possibilities are endless as far as storytelling goes in Road to Glory. Dynasty mode with NIL, transfer portal. They still have conference realignment in the game. If you want to change the conferences around still, you can. They have all 132 FCS schools in the game. Mm-hmm. I mean... You're telling me if I go and play an exhibition on a random Thursday with one of my friends, I can choose from one of 132 schools with all the real players on the roster, all real numbers, faces, face scans. I mean, it's crazy. Like it's so exciting, so fun that they're doing it. And I'm out of this world sitting here thinking about it and the dynasty modes that I'm going to run, because I'm literally just going to run endless dynasties with all the terrible schools, and it's going to be so fun. And I can't wait. And I can't wait to see how the NIL feature works in dynasty mode. I can't wait to see how the updated recruiting works. It's going to be fun. And also, some of these rebuilt stadiums over the years, like Louisville's, who added that entire new section to their stadium since NCAA 14. It's going to be cool to see in the game finally. And final thing, the custom stadium sounds that they're adding to the game, such as Virginia Tech Sandstorm.
Crazy.
I mean, that's it. That's it. Just
crazy.
off that.
Crazy.
Just off that. Yeah, just that. Every time that I play VT or play as VT, I get to watch the Sandstorm entrance. I mean, all the custom set, the Florida State axe chop, that's going to be in the game. I'm never going to play as Florida State because of it, but it's cool that they're adding it. What school? I think Mississippi State's like maroon white chant is going to be in the game. That's going to be cool. Just all these different school custom sounds that they're adding to the game, and all the custom atmospheres they're adding to the game, all the detail that I've heard that they're adding into the game. It's building up my excitement like crazy. And if it's not in the game, I mean, that's going to be a crazy disappointment. But I don't even know if that would make me that mad, Parker, because I'm just so excited for this game.
I just because it's been so anticipated for so long. And now we are at the point where we're 5 months away from this game, which feels like an eternity, but it's really not. It feels like an eternity, and people, I feel like, on the daily are continuously hiring their expectations for this game. And more than likely, a decent amount of people are going to be let down about this game. Playing it because they are just expecting it to when you turn on your Xbox that you need to feel like you are literally in Kroger Field on a Saturday night. That's just not, it's not. I get what you're saying. Like, I get that. Now, with all that being said, I think that EA is taking this to the max, and this is going to trump every single Madden game that has ever been released. And, you know, a big reason why it got delayed so long is because they were trying to, they went to every single FCS school and, wait, right? FCS? Yeah. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, FCS school. I got confused there. They went to every single FCS school and got chants. They got band sounds, songs, atmospheres, and like you said, man, like Virginia Tech, sandstorm entrance. You know, we already saw in the teaser trailer Notre Dame hitting the play like a champion sign, which was in NCAA 14, is what I heard. But what I am curious and I'm very excited about is, yeah, there's going to be band, but also real music. So, like you said, Virginia Tech, Enter Sandman. Does Kentucky have Grove Street Party by Waka Flocka in there? Does Louisville have Joker and the Thief? Songs like that are custom to that team. Now, obviously, like, we were at a Louisville game one time and they played Grove Street Party. No one really sang it, but if you know college basketball, you really know that Kentucky's song is Grove Street Party. I mean, Waka Flocka himself walked out the team. You know, like that is our song. We know that. I mean, Joker, or at least I from what I've never seen another school do it. Josh, you might know something differently. I know that no other school other than Louisville has used Joker and the Thief before. You know, big time schools, I should say. So I also, with the band sounds, I really hope that they just like a tradition like Joker and the Thief. They play it at the beginning of the fourth quarter or at the end of the third quarter. I don't know how they would be able to do it. But I are really just like, I'm really excited for the realism in it. I want to, like I said, you're not going to be able to feel like you're literally in Kroger Field on a Saturday night, but I want the closest damn thing possible to it. And I think that we are going to get that. I think that this is going to be an amazing visual game. It's just going to be beautiful for the eyes to just to look, especially because this is a whole new game than Madden. EA already said this is going to be nothing like Madden. We are already accustomed to NCAA 14, which is a great game, but obviously it was made 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. The graphics aren't that good. I think that we are going to be amazed. We are going to actually be amazed by the work that EA puts in. And I've said it to you, Josh. I don't care. It could literally be a Madden reskin to the T.
I love it.
I'm still going to be happy. I'm still going to be so happy. Oh my gosh. Like, if you, I don't know, maybe I'm just so excited for this game. I'll take literally anything. But, like, literally, it could be the exact same game, but just with all 34 teams, 32 teams, and every stadium and every player, and I will be completely happy. I'll be happy. I'll admit it. It'll be the exact garbage that we get in Madden every year, which Madden's not that bad, really, but I will take the exact same Madden game just with 130 teams and players and stadiums and be completely fine with it.
Yeah, and just as my little last send-off as far as NCAA goes, if they add the feature that they had in NCAA 14, where in Dynasty mode, you could export your graduating class into NCAA or into Madden NFL 25 as a draft class, which means that you could take every single team's graduating players and put them all into one draft class in Madden 25. And then that would be a draft class in Madden 25. If they do that for NCAA Football 25 and Madden 25, I'll cream. I'll literally cream. Like, that feature was so underrated. Like, it was so cool that you could do that. And
oh, dude.
And if they do that, I will use it. I will use it all the time. And especially for like YouTube videos, like the YouTube videos that people will make with that feature will be so cool. And it's going to be dope.
I'm curious to see if they do add that, if it's going to be something that you can really only use in like a dynasty mode-ish for Madden, where like you just control the entire team, or can you do something like that and add it to a face of the franchise where you're just controlling your own player? Can you still add those draft classes and be like, you know, I'm a quarterback from the University of Kentucky. I had a great career. I'm going to go to the draft. Can I continue that story just playing by me, have some cut scenes that are dedicated towards me, and with that whole draft class, you know, Joshua Chodnicki from Louisville was my biggest competition. How is he doing in that same class? You know, that's just something I don't have any answers for, obviously, and we haven't heard anything about it, I don't think. But I'm curious to see if it's going to be more of just a dynasty thing where you control the entire team as a full, or is it more going to be, can you also add it to face of the franchise and just control one singular player?
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's going to be a very exciting next 5 months until the game is finally released.
Long.
It seems long, but I promise it's gonna go by so fast. It'll be here before you know it. But I'm very excited, Parker. I cannot wait for it, and I will be staying up all night waiting for the game to drop and then playing it literally the day it comes out. And if I don't do that, then I am not watching any videos or anything until I get to watch it with my own eyes.
Yeah. You told me something the other day that kind of gets me worried. You could be out of town when this game drops. Is that right?
It's a very small chance, but yeah, I guess there is a chance, yeah.
I don't think I would be able to function. I think I would go into an endless deep depression if I was out of town when this game dropped and I wasn't anywhere near my Xbox where I could turn it on.
Maybe I'll just bring my Xbox. There's an easy fix right there.
Hey, there it is. That's the easiest fix. That's the easiest fix. Well, Josh, this is it's good to be back here on the podcast, and hopefully we can potentially get more consistent uploads. I don't know. We might do another podcast in 2 months from now, but
hopefully not.
Josh, before we end it off here, switching the roles around, do you have anything as one last message?
Yeah, well, listen, thank you guys for listening. You know, I appreciate you guys tuning in to Parker's thing that he's got going on. It really means a lot to me knowing that I haven't been able to appear on any episodes or podcasts because I've been really wanting to. Like, genuinely, me and Parker have been talking for weeks about recording, and we just haven't been able to. And honestly, to see what Parker's doing, it's really awesome because, you know, he's doing really good on it, and they're really good episodes. And so, you know, thank you guys for supporting Parker. It means a lot to him, I know, and it means a lot to me, even though I'm not there. And I'm glad to be back. I am looking forward to being back and staying back because I'm not planning on taking this long of a break again. But I do apologize for being gone that long and not having an actual, you know, podcast for so long. But appreciate you guys for listening, as always.
Yeah. And I don't know if there is anybody on this YouTube channel that watches the YouTube videos that also watch the TikToks, but whoever you guys are on the TikTok, you guys got that thing popping. You got that thing lighting off every single time I post a video, and that's just awesome. I love it. Like I said, every video, if you guys want to talk about anything, me or Josh don't mind having a conversation with anybody about anything. So just ask whatever you want. We will get into some heated I hate you arguments. So other than that, I'm Parker. That's Josh. This is Take His Whistle.
See you guys.
Peace.